Let me start. Roman Polanski, how did you first become involved with him?
I had a play running in Paris called Taking Sides in England. It was called À tort et raison in Paris. And Roman saw it, and he thought, this is about Nazis and about music. Perhaps he's the guy to write The Pianist. I've since accused him of having no imagination whatsoever, but anyway. My agent called and said, would I read the book? I was terribly flattered. I'd met him once briefly before in Moscow, of all places. Yeah. And he said he'd admired my film, The Dresser. That was the only contact we had. And then the book came, and I started to read it about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I couldn't put it down. And so the next morning I phoned and I said, yes, yes, please, I think I said.
And how do you find him personally?
Well, I absolutely adore him. I have to say we've become very close friends. We talk a lot, once a week at least. I have a flat in Paris, so I see him whenever I go there. He's just wonderful company, and he has no pretension. He never talks about art, which I can't bear it when they tell you what the meaning of the movie is.
Yes.
No, I can't bear that. And I think throughout our working relationship, on The Pianist especially, we never discussed the moral problems of the film. Never, never. Or even with Fagin in Oliver Twist, we never discussed the anti-Semitism, or if there was any. We just told the story. And that's what he's marvellous at. You never come out of a Polanski film saying, oh, did you see the way he moved the camera? He's never, look, mummy, I'm a film director. He just tells the story. And you see, Roman's background is the theatre. He was trained as an actor in the theatre. And he believes in text. Once we'd agreed the screenplay...
It's so rare in filmmakers these days, isn't it?
Don't give us a... They don't know what text is.
No.
Because also it's very short cuts and you can't have dialogue scenes running over half a page. That would be it.
Because people haven't got the attention span.
Exactly. Yeah. But Roman, once we agreed the text, for example, of The Pianist, he never changed a word and didn't allow the actors any leeway at all. Roman phoned me from the floor. He used to say, they want to say hi instead of hello. I said, don't let them. No, I won't let them. And that was that. And, I mean, he did it 2 or 3 times.
When you say once we agreed, you obviously worked together.
5 weeks we were locked up.
Was that difficult? Were there any big rows? Or?
No. I tell you, a wonderful thing. We started at 9:30 every morning. He took a house outside Paris near Rambouillet. His children were on holiday, they were playing in the pool, and there were people looking after the children and cooking for us. And Roman and I worked in a study every morning, and then went out for lunch, had a sleep, came back at 4:30, and worked till 7. Every day for 5 weeks, Saturday, Sunday. It was terrific. And we told a lot of bad taste jokes. He's the best Jewish joke teller in the business. We told jokes about Germans, about Jews, about Poles. And we laughed an awful lot. And when we came out one day, after about the first week, one of the nannies, a male nanny, said to Roman, are you two guys writing a comedy? And Roman said, this is the funniest film you'll ever see. Anyway, we worked through it day by day, scene by scene. Both of us, I'd been a bad actor, and he'd been a rather good actor, I'm afraid. And we used to read the scenes together and swap the parts, and eventually we got through and thought we'd done the job. I don't think we had any great expectations. The thought was that Schindler's List had already been a huge world success, and people would say, "Oh, it's another Holocaust picture." You know, we all had that reaction.
Yeah,
he had it too, and I. And then, when he'd got a cut. It was a proper cut. I think it was an answer print with music and everything. My wife and Polanski and the producers went to a small viewing theatre, this sort of size in Paris, and we saw it for the first time. And when we came out, Roman said to me, we've done good work. And that was the first time I thought, well, yes, we have. And I had no other expectations of it. And then, of course, it took off.
It really took off. Did he have any particular emotional involvement in the story? Because it's almost autobiographical.
It was. You see, he was offered Schindler's List. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And he turned it down because that was set in the Krakow ghetto where Roman was a kid.
Yeah.
And he knew all the people involved, he knew the survivors, and he just couldn't face it. But when this came up, he thought I could tell my story through this. I think he never said this to me, and he's very secretive about those. He never discussed.
I can't remember reading or hearing of him actually saying that.
No.
Other people have inferred that that's what it was.
I think it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
his memory, when you know, there's a scene when they're being deported, and the pianist is grabbed out of the line by someone and saved that way. Well, when I did the first draft, I did it from the book, and we were working on. Roman said, "No, let's do what happened to me." I said, "Oh," and he said, "Pull him out, and then say, 'Walk, don't run.'" And that's what we did, and it's frightfully effective. I would never have done it. I would never in a million years. It was based on an absolute reality. He'd been pushed out of the ghetto, he told me, under the barbed wire. He didn't talk much about his experience in the ghetto, though. He doesn't talk about himself in that way at all.
They're probably too painful to talk about.
Yeah, I think. He did. I read in an interview, he didn't say this to me, that he said, "I will stop mourning my mother on the day I die."
Yeah.
She didn't survive. The father survived and the sister survived.
And presumably he has survivor's guilt himself.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. He tried to find the peasant family that brought him. He was brought up as a Catholic, of course. He only found out he was a Jew when he was, I don't know, after 2 years after the war.
Is he a practicing Jew now?
No matter how hard Roman practiced, he'll never get the hang of it. No.
Well, it is tough.
It's tough. I mean, no, he's not. He's an atheist. He's had a kind of life that it'd be hard to think there was an author doing this to you. I mean, no one's had a life like his.
No,
the things that have happened to him.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we are.
Let's talk about Oliver Twist, which it struck me as an odd subject for Polanski.
The greatest
to do.
cultural miscalculation of the 21st century.
Well, in a
More
curious
people
way,
saw
yes.
it in Poland than saw it in the United States. I think the musical is so powerful and dominant that...
So, why did Roman Polanski want to make Oliver
There was
Twist?
something about a little boy that is thrown into the world and survives.
That's him
And
again.
survives, exactly. No, I mean, these again are my being artistic. I don't know, he never said it's my story.
I did read somewhere that he said that he wanted to make a film his children would want to see. But I mean, it's not a jolly film.
It's a
Oliver
black, very
Twist.
dark
It's a very black
movie,
film,
yes,
yeah.
very dark.
Yeah.
I don't know, he said that it was for, he told me that. He said, "No, I was reading it with the children, they loved it, let's make a movie of it." And I would always want to. Well, Roman could offer me the telephone directory and I would do it because I love working with him.
Yeah.
And I learn. It was lovely to learn at my time of life. And Roman said to me, one day people say, "This is a classic." It isn't now, I have to tell you, it isn't now.
Why? You started off by saying it was the biggest cultural disaster or the whatever.
Miscalculation.
Why? Miscalculation.
Nobody
Beg your
went to
pardon.
see it, Barry, that's why.
Oh, that's why.
You know, movies are not made for the director and the writer, they're made for people to see. That's the point.
And when you're making it, did he do it in chronological order?
Well, here's an interesting thing about his relationship with writers, which I should have mentioned earlier. In both the screenplays that I've done with him, he says, when you present it and you start work, he says, "Let's start at the end." And we did with the pianist.
Does that mean he wants you to write the final scene first?
No, he wants to work backwards and see
I
how
see.
the story works.
Yeah.
When it came to Oliver Twist, he said, "There's something missing here. You've left out a very important scene." I said, "Oh God, what?" He said, "You don't go to the prison." I said, "Well, no, I think it's very dark, that, Roman. I mean, Oliver goes to the prison, Fagin is about to be hanged." He said, "No, it's obligatory. Go back." So I went back to my flat, which was about 20 minutes away, from half an hour from his, and I wrote it that night and went back in the morning with it, printed it out. We got a film. And it's true. We're the only, I think it's the only adaptation that does do that prison scene.
But you know, yeah, I'm sure you're right, but it's a shameful thing to admit. So long since I've read Oliver Twist, I wasn't even sure it was in Dickens.
Oh, it's absolutely in Dickens. That's why he wanted it. It is in Dickens, and I thought it was not... I suppose I was being rather crass and thinking it's not an upending. It's certainly not an upending. I can't remember now all my reasoning, but anyway, I did when he asked me to. Yeah. And it went down very easily, and that was the scene, and I don't think we fiddled with it at all. That was it. And he said, no, we've got a film. And then we went back to the beginning.
Because it is a very, very effective scene, that one.
Yeah, but Kingsley is very good in it, I think.
Yeah. How do you rate him? I mean, you've worked with quite a lot of directors. Where would you place Polanski?
Oh, very high. I've worked with some very, very good directors. I've been very fortunate, but I think Polanski is among the very, very best I've worked with anyway. I mean, his concentration is on... Firstly, he knows there's an audience there.
Yeah.
Tell the story. He's not, as I said at the beginning, he's not demonstrating his own skills. That's not what he does. He tells the story, and that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yes.
He just stages it. I remember going on the set one day, I can't remember what scene he was shooting, but he was in a state of where he should put the camera, and the lighting cameraman, he worked closely together, and they were chatting, and he suddenly went, rubbing his eyes, I can't see it, I can't see it. And he went off for about 2 or 3 minutes. He came back and said, put the camera there. And he's just got that kind of imagination, but he does get stuck, and he doesn't have a shooting script, or he doesn't, as I said, he doesn't have any camera directions. He sort of edits it in his mind, I think, and he doesn't have to, he hardly ever shoots a general scene and then go in close on each. He doesn't do that. He's just very good at it. He's a very, very expert filmmaker. And it is a great pleasure when you come across that, because he doesn't have insurance policies.
Yeah.
You know, all that shooting one scene and then going close is an insurance policy, because you don't know how to cut it together. Yeah. But Roman doesn't do much of that. So I admire him enormously, and he's one of the people, I always say this is a definition, my definition of a friend is someone you're always pleased to see. And I'm always pleased to see Roman.
Oh, it's a nice note on which to end, and let these people go off and watch the film we haven't discussed, Chinatown.
Chinatown, which is a masterpiece, of course.
Which is a masterpiece. Yes. Ronnie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barry. Thanks.